Now, the state visit of King Charles to France has been postponed amid tensions over President Macron's pension reforms.
And in other royal news, Prince Harry is directing his charitable focus towards the Global Boyhood Initiative, whatever that's all about, which I believe seeks to make boys less toxic. Again, what's that all about? Why are boys toxic? Anyway, the royal commentator, Angela Levin, joins us now. But let's go back to that breaking news, Angela, about this state visit being delayed.
I think the important thing that it was President Macron who told them not to come. It would have seemed very rude, and people would have absolutely gasped if we'd said, or the palace had said, they didn't feel it was safe to go. The fact that he says that means he's actually taking a lot of care, that he's not putting them in a dangerous situation. What is interesting, actually, is that the whole thing is over the French having their time from, they have to work from 62 years to 64 years before they can retire. Where here in the UK, it's gone up to 68. Has anyone said a murmur? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. But before I came here, I'd read that there won't be any red flags for them. There wouldn't be any red carpets for them. For the people who put it on are actually decided to go on strike. So the whole thing looked absolutely ridiculous.
So the royal family wouldn't have had any red carpets because they were all on strike.
Well, you don't think
so it wouldn't have looked very good, would it? The whole thing would have been a mess.
Not a single flag round. It would have been very
so Macron's hand was forced, really, by the protest, by the demonstration.
By the protest.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm sure. I presume that the King and Queen are probably quite relieved, though, aren't they? Because it would have been quite an awkward position for them to be in and go into France with all those.
It could be dangerous, because Versailles, where they were going to have this huge banquet, you know, the French hate that. They hate the royals. I mean, they're not a royal nation, really. And, you know, in the mid-70s, that they had this revolution, and they see that that's the place of the revolution and aristocrats and too much money. And so to have the banquet there probably wasn't a good idea.
Was it a big mistake by Macron, really, the whole thing?
Well, I don't think it's a big mistake that he puts up the retirement date by 2 years.
No, I meant this visit for them to go to Versailles, knowing what the French public
thinks. Yes, I think
thinks.
Versailles they could have avoided. They could have gone to somewhere differently. You know, they could have gone to, you know, some place. There's lots of places where they could have gone for dinner. I can't recommend them. I haven't been there for a long time. But it's just very important that we realise that it came from Macron. It didn't come from the UK. People can't attack us for not going. He says it's, you know, not wise to come, and we just have to listen. They will be going to Germany, though.
Yes.
They will be going to Germany.
Can I read out what some of our viewers have said? Sean here says, good, I'm glad our monarchs are staying away. Not an appropriate time, considering all that's going on.
Harvey, though, says, that's a shame. I was looking forward to seeing the pictures of the visit. I think we all were, to be honest, Harvey, with all that carnage going on in France at the same time.
Yeah, Margot, I'm sure that was a wise decision. They do have a few issues going on in France.
And Jeanette says, in my opinion, the postponement is a relief. But Lorraine says he should definitely go. So, but of course, it's like you say, Macron who's called it off, and so the King can't go.
I think what the French should actually think about is that, you know, the King is 74, Camilla is 75. They're working day and night for the country, and that people are sort of getting grumpy because they have to stay another 2 years is absolutely pathetic.
Would it not have been a good message for Macron to show the King and Queen? They're saying, look, he's 74, he's they're working, and you know.
That's why I'm telling you know, we're not, you know, what's wrong with actually working when things are difficult for the country?
Do you think we're seeing too much of the royal family?
Never.
At the moment, because people would say you've got the King and the Queen, but Kate, are we not seeing too much of her? Has she got too much exposure? Are we seeing her more as a sort of some sort of showbiz rather than royalty? No, is she competing with Meghan?
She's working hard because there are not so many people doing it. Harry and Meghan and Prince Andrew have all left, so they've got loads to do. They want to keep up. They can't do all the contracts, but I think it's very wrong to call them that celebrities, because they go to occasions, they go to places, engagements of charities and things, and there's crowds and crowds of people there cheering them. That's not their fault.
But somebody who is a celebrity is Harry now, isn't it? Harry and Meghan.
It's Harry and Meghan are doing that. They're not members of the royal family.
What's this though about making boys less toxic?
global boyhood.
Well, yes, I've
all that
got
about?
it. Global Boyhood Initiative, who say that gender is not tied to sexual organs. Now, in my world, that is exactly the opposite. They are tied to sexual organs.
Angela Levin makes a bold claim. Meghan Markle is trying to emasculate Prince Harry. That's not just provocative, it's seismic. What does it mean when someone says a wife is undermining her husband's identity? Tonight, we tear apart Levin's argument. Its truth, its danger, and what it reveals about how we view power, masculinity, and the royal narrative. Let's begin with what's being claimed. That Meghan is somehow overpowering Harry, that she diminishes him, that she's turned the tables in ways that erode his manhood. Levin is no stranger to royal criticisms, but this line of argument carries weight. When you accuse someone of emasculation, it's not just personal, it's cultural, symbolic. So where does Levin get this from? Body language analysts, media tone, public perception, all thrown into the stew. Let's examine the proof. Meghan leads in interviews, speaks her truth, commands more media attention. Is that emasculation, or does that show strength? Harry appears quieter, more reserved. But does that mean he's under her thumb, or simply choosing a different path? We see instances. Meghan takes center stage, Harry seems reactive. But is that strategy, personality, or pressure? Some might say the narrative is fueled by traditional expectations. What a man should be. And that's where things get fuzzy. Because here's the deeper issue. What emasculation really means in a cultural context. Classic masculinity norms, media portrayals, public gossip. When you shout, emasculation, you're calling into question someone's manhood, and that has consequences. It sets up a frame where strength is measured in dominance, visibility, loudness.
He's joining in on the sort of trans issue here, is he? Is that
No,
what
it
he's
just
doing?
means that it's all. If everyone's got to be neutral, everyone's got to be, the same as everybody else. Now, I find that very odd that Meghan's let that go ahead, because she's a huge feminist. And why does she want to come down a few steps to be very similar to Harry? I mean, he's a shadow of himself now, and he is very weak, and perhaps he thinks that that's very feminine and rather nice.
So maybe
that he
this
can boss him around.
oscillating and fluid, was he relating it to him? He was saying, you don't need the masculinity, I found tears and meditation. Is it all about him? Is it all about Harry being absorbed with Harry?
But
and
he
his
was a
views?
real military guy. He was very much a guy's guy. Why does she go for somebody like that and then try and emasculate them? It doesn't make any sense
She's
to me.
successfully done it, hasn't she?
Well, she
Well,
has
it was a great
successfully done
coup.
it. But look what he
Great coup.
looks like. Look what he's, he's anxious, he's depressed, he's taking drugs, which he tells the world,
Might lose
he
his
might not get back in
visa now, yes, in America.
Yes.
Esther always thinks she can change me, Angela. That's what she always thinks, that she can.
I'd never want to change you, Philip. You're perfect just the way you are.
But what if Harry doesn't want to lead from the front? What if his strength lies in vulnerability, in stepping back to speak when it matters? Let's talk about the media. How the same actions are judged differently depending on gender, race, royal expectations. When Meghan asserts something, it becomes ambitious or overbearing. When Harry is quiet, it's weak or cowed. Audience reception. Does it matter more how we perceive them than what they actually do? Definitely. Because public opinion feeds these narratives. Angela Levin's argument might resonate because it aligns with deeply rooted beliefs about men, wives, patriarchy, and power. If the idea that Meghan is emasculating Harry takes hold, what does that do to their public image? To their brand? To expectations? Harry might be portrayed as passive. Meghan as controlling. Either narrative may be amplified for clicks, headlines, gossip, regardless of reality. But perhaps the truth is more complex. Power doesn't always wear armor. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's choosing which battles to fight. Is Angela Levin right? Or is this argument more about old ideas of masculinity and royal duty than about Meghan and Harry themselves? Do you believe Meghan is trying to emasculate Harry? Or is this claim a product of expectation, tradition, and sensationalism? Let me know down below. Subscribe for more royal breakdowns, truth-seeking commentary, and challenges to the stories we tell ourselves. Because sometimes, the most explosive claims hide the biggest insecurities.